This piece of work anchors back to the old days when the mines were open in the valleys, and as a youngster in those days you always heard stories about hard men. They worked hard, they played hard. Some of them would have 3 hours sleep, work a farm, work the pit, and you always had these really hard men all over the valleys, every town, every village. You all know them. So this is a little ballad called The Legend of the Bull. The Legend of the Bull, a tale of the days of the mines and the hard men who worked them. He's gone now, pipe proud, emperor of worlds. He was the last great dinosaur hatched from an egg. They say his concrete legs could take the weight of houses, and men believed he had the fury of both world wars stamped into his head. And now at the morn of his grave men swore they saw the devil battle in the bull through his black-hard realm of flame and coal. And they knew the next fight would be in heaven, for they believed not a god or a devil had the strength to claim his soul. For the bull was raised on a dog bowl of flint and gristle, a cereal of nuts and bolts to give teeth a crunch. His kin were a Rottweiler lot, mean and unforgiving. He was not so much weaned, but toughened on the teat of a punch. Then they broiled him hard in a pot of trotters and liver, to become they who dig and breathe the dust of borrowed time. For pit deep you will feel the breath of the devil, and you will become that ghastly lung that can phlegm and dredge up a mine. Did you see him? Brazen as a bullet, eyes mean-sighted like guns triggered in his corner, loaded ready for the bout to start. A great head that'll peg you down like a mallet, a frostbite of defiance that snaps like twigs the courage of hearts. And to his heart, they say he held his loves caged in his arms, women who melted in the brute of him, and to the Lord they did confess. They say they were caught in a damned euphoria of blasphemy, for all his lover swore his passion was as hot as a napalm's caress. For even God knew his love could explode like a volcano, for there was something dark and molten that ran through his veins. And beware, for you will become contagious with his green-eyed poison, for he will leech you dry and soulless, and boot you black and blue with blame. Did you hear him bellow? I am an explosion, not tended by age, but toughened as a tanner of leather, and I demand the respect of a king's coronation, for to cross me is the threat of unleashing hell of its tether. For the pit tempered him on a beating of anvils, and he came out of those bellows spitting bullets and flames. His skin turned plate and armoured like dillos. His fists were wrought to iron with the grab, they say, of the mightiest cranes. Did you see him? Propped and lamped in his mould-dug hall, he walked with men fathoms deep and drowned from the sun. And there with a heave they shovelled for their bacon. The coal was not loaded by wit, no, it was weighed by the back of a ton, for these core of earth diggers grew paws as boulders, and the jar and vote of them was electric eels times 10. For lads tread they fathers' paths of sorrows and disasters, for the mine swallows boys and coughs them up as spit and sawdust men. Did you hear the bull's boot? Crumbling foundations, the valley's very own superstar, our own mighty Kong. They say he killed a man once with a pin of his eyeballs, fist loaded and a belt with more impact than a Roshammer's bomb. Then they say he grew horns as he joined the horrendous men, and they tell of a legend the time he beat up the county of Devon. And they say if his knuckles crack and pop, well, the next sound you'll hear, boy, is angels playing harps in heaven. for he can grind bones down to a cud of tripe. He stands a siege engine who holds ground with a cannon of pride, not forgetting that job that can split through the atom. And there are craters full of busted bones of all those men who've tried. Now, the bull held court every Friday ruck and tumble, as men shed off they pelts of muck to bathe again in light. And in a blessed scald of steam they blast all graft asunder, for it is for the swig that blackguards sail, for a song of a bottle and fight. For the bull loved the bell of a ringside tipple, as he damped down his dust on a gut rot of swill, and as the bar sways to ship and tilts, drunken vows would come to life of all those men he sworn to kill, for he monolifts the bar, fists the size of Timbuktu, and as he growls the mood of the pub turns a grizzly bear, and a load of fellows gallop they pints and eject the room, as a snorting bull scans the bar for any man who'll bloody dare. And the threat is pitched. Who wants to pick a window? Who wants 10 bob of his butt dragged through the glass? Who wants to see stars flying off with their teeth? And what man will slip his clutch and before the world empty out his arse? And just how many bull did you show the four corners? How many men dined on dirt in a desperate search for teeth? How many men now dribble through pancake noses? And how many wives visit their husbands just to lay a wreath? But even mountains level, bull, and great kings and sultans fall, gone like the sand of dunes that rise and pass through tides of moons. For gone now is your Waterloo and Culloden, for every warrior will in time need that hole to lick his wounds. And youth campaigns into its own fists of battalions and hammers its own drum of a fierce and brutal song. For the bull's auger no longer chews rocks on mountains, for youth can tell the silverback no longer beats his chest like Kong. Then age brittle he rusted in the mould of pub corners, his body knotted in graft and buckled and beaten by blows, and eyes long dead had lost a spark of explosion, as the fighter turns to scrap and ruin and reaps the woe he sows. For his mind then slurred drunk in the punches of bedlam, his triumphs though dead, kept alive by his ramble of boast, and he had long lost the reason and faces of his conquest, as the bull strangles his pint, spitting and snarling at nothing but ghosts. Ah, but you remember, bull, when you were crowned in horns, and each man would bow an eye with a face that spoke of a bended knee, and they all lauded you the mightiest kraken. All hail, for he is the proudest tsunami since Moses parted the sea. And now dead, respect swaves itself in a bunting of black, as men belt down hill and remember your tremendous graft and clout. But there's many a broken man mind will spit at your passing, heads cauliflowered and stitched like quilts, the remnants of your savage rout. And the vicar prayed hard but could not find the words, for God he knew could smell a lie on any brute or bugger's breath. So he settled for, he kept a good fire, and he scuttled his wife tidy, and with his shovel made sure she was never thin, and she died a fat and healthy death. And so those days passed, and men become just the soot of a shadow, legends of valleys and men that turn to dust in a passage of halls. For in bedrock it's the faces of bulls and coal miners. So it is a prayer to a candle for men who burrowed the earth and lived their lives as dark as moles. And so the earth pulled him back to its obsidian roots, to become fossil and amber with all those men who lost scent of the sky. And if it's hell he dwells, where he'll still find there some pride to plunder. For wherever he lays in death, I believe the bull will never be one to lay down and die.